Hey, it's Ryan. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Stoic Podcast. Okay, so my February got blown up, and it was a pretty absurd chain of events. But we sometimes forget how often our lives can just be positively impacted, can go in a very exciting new direction as a result of something you never would have guessed would happen. And that happened for me when I got an Instagram DM from a producer at Harpo. If you've never heard of Harpo, maybe just spell it backwards, right? That's Oprah's production company. And they said, hey, Oprah just read your book and would like you to come do an interview with her in Maui. And I said, what? Is this real? At first, I actually thought it was a scam. And then I got on the phone with the producer and no, it was very real. It was Harpo. So I got my whole family, including my in-laws, on a flight to Maui. Oprah had read The Obstacle is the Way. It turns out she heard about not just my book, but Stoicism in general from a new novel. This novel, lo and behold, was sitting on my wife's bedstand. It had been mailed to me, but she stole it and didn't give it to me, by Maria Semple. You may have heard of her other book, Where'd You Go, Bernadette, which was a huge seller a few years back. She has a new book called Go Gentle. And in the novel, the main character is a Stoic philosopher who's tutoring the children of this wealthy family in New York City. And Oprah had loved Maria's book. She'd selected it for her book club, but it also sent her down a rabbit hole of Stoicism, which is how she found The Obstacle is the Way. So you might be thinking novel about Stoicism, not into it. Let me tell you, Maria knows her shit. This is probably one of the most in-depth conversations into Stoicism that I've ever had on the podcast. Like, I got to nerd out more about it with her than I have with academics and translators of the Stoics. So this conversation is great. Maria's new book is out now, and it's lovely. I think you will really like it. Let's go.
So I went to sleep last night and I thought that I heard like nightingales chirping. And then I kind of, like in the middle of the night, I woke up and heard kind of nightingales and went back to sleep. And then I woke up in the morning and there were like mama birds feeding baby birds.
Beautiful.
And it was beautiful. But then I woke up and realized it was the toilet leaking the whole time. And so I thought that's like a perfect Stoic thing of reframing.
It's all how you decided to see it. It's beautiful or it's disgusting.
That's right. And so I just felt like I was in this magical, like fairy wonderland, like woodland of birds night and day. And then I realized it was like that goddamn toilet's leaking. And if I had recognized it as the toilet leaking, I would have had a horrible night's sleep and I would have just worked myself up. And then it really was, it's just the power of if you reframe things. I thought that was a good little mini lesson in that.
One of my favorite memes is like, you go and visit the Grand Canyon and it's okay. And then it's like the sunset in a random grocery store parking lot. And, you know, like,
yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, what is this?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And that's actually one of my favorite passages in Meditations where Marcus Aurelius is sort of like observing all these beautiful things in nature that actually aren't that beautiful. They're pretty ordinary. He talks about like, you know, like the way grain is kind of just bending under its own weight, or he talks about, you know, flecks of foam on a boar's mouth. Only a writer would notice this. He's like, the way that bread breaks open in the oven.
Right.
And we don't really know why it does that. It just does it. And he's like, the baker's not doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But it's still a benefit of the baker's art. You go, all the study, because the Romans, their education had such a focus on poetry and plays. He just learned turns of phrase and he's applying it to seemingly ugly things. Or not beautiful things, and managing to find beauty in them. Yeah,
that's so great. And that's why I love Epictetus is I just think he brings just all this potential out of everyday like objects and just anything you come across during the day, you just see the opportunity it is, you know, for growth or, you know, just to shift your perspective. And he's very like domestic, which is what I like about him.
Yeah, I just wrote this email for Daily Stoic, the Daily Stoic email, where James Baldwin is walking with his mentor. Is it James Buford? I forget it. It's something Buford. And they're walking in New York City, and he, as they're crossing the street, Buford stops Baldwin and he points. He goes, "Do you see that?" And Baldwin's like, "It's a muddy puddle." And he's like, "No. Look, from this angle, you can see the oil on top of the water creating like that rainbow that oil does, and the reflection. They could see the buildings, you know, sort of in the reflection." And he's saying that Buford, in seeing allows him to see. And that's kind of I think in a way that's what a philosopher does. That's what an artist does, which is it sees beauty in the mundane, or it sees potential in the ugly, or the opportunity inside the obstacle, and they allow other people to, in pointing it out, allow other people to see it.
Yeah, very much so. I think that's true. No, that's very true. And I think that's really why I love the Stoics, is because it really lets me unleash my imagination on just everyday occurrences or just the natural world or something. As I feel like, unlike kind of faith or religions that don't, I really like get fired up and like tweak out on like, wait, what's a different way I can see this? This is all the different perspective, and it really engages like the writer in me.
Well, sometimes people, they're like, okay, so what is it? What are the Stoics telling me to do? And it's like, it's actually not really telling you to do anything. It's just these kind of like different ways of running something through your brain.
Yes.
It's not actually doing anything in the way that meditation is sitting there and doing it. It's like, no, it's just different slices on the same situation. That's the thing. It's like, oh, you don't control that New York City is what it is, but you control if you look at the puddle as something ugly and disgusting, or you look at it as something kind of beautiful and modern and surreal.
That's right. And it's, so I think it is good for the artistic mind. And I think you don't have to be an artist to do it. But I mean, I would hope that people who are into Stoicism would understand that, like, oh, I didn't get a job. I didn't get the job I wanted. But then, oh, there's all these other doors open to you. And what could they be?
You just didn't get a shitty job.
That's
you actually would have hated it and it would have been horrible. And you can decide what story you're going to tell yourself.
That's right. And it's actually really fun.
Yeah. Okay, so give me your Stoicism origin story.
It's a mystery. I don't quite know how I came across it, but I feel like I thought it was in the New York Times, like the Stone. Remember they used to have a philosophy column, and I read about it, and it seemed really wise. It just seemed like something I could do, and already just reading about it brought me relief. Now, I've now since gone back and tried to find that article, and I can't find it. But I just read something about it, and what I figure it must
When would this have been?
This would have been maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I think probably it was about, use wisdom, apply wisdom to figure out what you can control, what you cannot control, only worry about what, the serenity prayer basically is like, which we all love, where we're all like, whoa, the serenity prayer. But it's like, oh, this is the 300 BC serenity prayer, Did
it come to you at some time when you really needed that? Or why do you think it struck you?
Yeah, well, I think generally I struggle with my emotions, I'd say, with just like being ruled by my emotions, and so this felt like it could bring relief to that. I read, I think, William Irvine, that book. That was like the first book that I read. And it was really about just intent.
The Guide to the Good Life?
The Guide to the Good Life, which is basically like, you're just going to be a mess and have no idea what you're doing, and you're going to die and go like, what was that about, man? I had no plan. I had no idea of like what I had, and I wasted it. And you can like live with intention. And so that was interesting to me. And then quickly I just went into the Stoics themselves, Seneca, and then probably Marcus Aurelius. I really love Epictetus.
He's your guy?
Yeah, Epictetus. It's so funny. I feel like Marcus is your guy, right? Yeah. And like Tim Ferriss is a Seneca guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I do.
That's exactly that. Yes. That's exactly
right. So Epictetus is my guy. And I think it's funny because in one of your books, you refer to him as preachy.
He's the worst writer of them.
Right.
So, like, I mean, he's not actually writing because someone, Arian is writing that.
Yes.
But what you are getting when you sit down and read Epictetus is literally a man preaching.
Yes.
I mean, you're listening to a professor speak about Stoicism.
Right.
And then that's filtered through Arian, his student. And I mean, I think there's a lot of great stuff in Epictetus. The Enchiridion of Epictetus, I like better than the discourses of Epictetus.
Right, exactly.
Because it is filtered down and edited in a way that you're getting to the core of it. I just think Marcus Aurelius to be doing that in private and to write that well, it is unimaginable.
Right.
He's just such a great writer. I think that's why I like Marcus Aurelius the most. And then Seneca is also an incredible writer.
Such a good writer. Oh my gosh,
so
his
it's kind of hard to compare Epictetus to him because he was doing something very different. You're listening to transcripts of a lecture. I think that's maybe why I said he was preaching.
Well, I think that I love that Sharon LaBelle translation, and I think that she really does New Age it up a bit. Translation, which is kind of wild. That, and in fact, in my book, Go Gentle, not to pivot to my book, but
talk about this.
I do. Is that
I've interviewed her.
Yes, so I make her a philosopher who, and at first when I was thinking about what do I do with my main character, I want to make her a philosopher or like a Stoic. But then I thought I'd have to have her learn Greek after she was a TV comedy writer, and is really do we believe that, or Latin or whatever it was? And so, but then I read that Sharon LaBelle just kind of read the English translations.
She's translated it not from one language to another, but from one context to another, and which is its own service.
Yes, and so that's kind of why I felt like okay, I can make that's what my character does, is to kind of dumb it down and make it kind of nice for the people, you know. And so maybe that's why I like it, is because it's very
good. It was one of the first Stoic things that I read, and I remember being, and actually I wonder if it even informs my understanding of Epictetus, because I was a little disappointed when I read Epictetus. I read that first, and then I read Epictetus, and I was like, are you sure he didn't say it that way?
Right.
And it's like, no, he didn't. And so it's like he said it worse. And so
he did.
She does such a great job distilling it down. That's a classic, great introductory to Stoicism.
Right. And so what I did was and then of course, like I got your book, The Daily Stoic, which I just loved. And I have my copy here. I'm very excited for you to sign it.
I just, in my email today, got confirmation that I have sent in from my publisher the 10-year anniversary of the Daily Stoic. So we changed a bunch of the entries and whatever. So it's now 10 years old.
I'll have to get a new one.
Yeah.
So I'd say with the Daily Stoic plus the Stoics themselves, I would just every morning sit and read the Stoics and then start to try to come up with how to practice Stoicism, because I didn't know how to do it. There were no I kind of looked, maybe there were meetups, but they seemed like kind of scary and like weirdos or whatever. And I didn't know that I wanted
like meeting people. So
yeah, exactly. I don't want to just drive an hour and a half away and then you're going to be scared by everyone you meet and then turn against your passion as a result. So I didn't do that. And so I then just started on my own coming up with what does it mean for me to be a Stoic? Yeah. And so I came up with my philosophy of life based on William Irvine. Yeah. And it took me years to kind of refine that. And then I have like a daily, maybe like 5-step Stoic practice that I would just do by myself, which now just seems so kind of tragic and sweet that I just invented my own little Stoic practice. What is your
5-step daily Stoic practice?
Well, so what I do is I write down my philosophy of life. My daily goal is to bring my actions, desires, and thoughts into harmony with my philosophy of life. My philosophy of life is virtue equals freedom. The 4 Stoic virtues are wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Virtue is the only good. Its pursuit is the only guarantee of achieving abiding good cheer, secure joy, and a tranquil mind. Okay, so that's like what I realize is my philosophy of life. And then what I do is I go to the virtue list. So then I've written the 4 virtues down, and I put a bunch of descriptions, like subsets of the virtues.
Walk me through why you put them in this order. I'm curious, as someone who just did a series on the 4 virtues, why did you pick them why do you put them in this order?
Okay, so wisdom is first?
I don't put wisdom first. I want to know why you put them first.
Okay. Yeah. I think wisdom comes first because I think it applies to all the other ones. I think that without knowing what's in your control and what's out of your control, you can't. You need wisdom for that. So I think that that's the crown of it, you know, and then because they all are the things that you can control. So I feel like somehow that goes to the top.
Well, I sometimes tell people I think wisdom can be misleading, but if you saw it as discernment,
yes, exactly.
Then okay, yeah, sure, because it's telling you what level of courage to bring to a situation. It's telling you what situations what the right thing to do in a situation is. How much is too much and not enough, right?
That's right.
It's shaping and informing the volume on the other 3 virtues.
That's right. So that's number 1. And what do I have there as number 2?
Next.
Okay, I'll tell you why I have justice next, which is kind of funny, is that I was talking to Donald Robinson once, and I had courage next, and he kind of bullied me into putting justice next. It's because it's not funny because he was like, well, and he did this. He was like, why isn't justice higher up?
Well, yeah, it's like courage for what?
Yeah, right.
Like, what is the courage being applied to?
That's right.
And if it's not to the right thing, then it's not so impressive as it's certainly not virtue.
That's right. And also the thing about justice is it's been such a years long process is justice feels, all of the words are kind of problematic, like virtue, like it's not cool going to dinner and going, all I can do is care about virtue. It just seems preachy and justice seems preachy and also, but once you understand,
I knew I could not be in the title of the book.
Yeah, you can't do it.
People are like, I don't care about the law.
I don't care about the law. And I don't want to hear it from you, about why I'm not going to have you tell me what to do. That's just what it unfortunately implies now. So, but once I understood it's about like being kind to other people and treating people well, and then just kind of understanding, like it's kind of a boundary thing in a way is justice.
At least ethics and standards.
Yes.
And yes.
And then it's what do you put your effort into in terms of other people,
right.
And so that to me is like very rich territory. And then I probably have courage.
Mm-hmm.
And so courage is just so great. It's like about work to me. Yeah. It's like it's to me, courage is about work.
What do you mean by that?
But it's just hard work. I feel like to just do the writing, to go to the gym, to do the hard things, is to me.
So this is where I disagree with the Stoics and I disagree with you.
Okay.
When I did this series, I think endurance and resilience, I think they go down into temperance and self-discipline.
Okay.
So you think courage is the showing up?
See, like if I'm in a
putting
plank,
yourself out there?
If I'm in a plank, it's like courage. I'm just going like courage,
No, that's self-discipline.
Okay, no, but
that's one part of you wants to do the easy thing, and another part of you wants to do the hard thing.
Okay.
And you have to have the will and the strength to get there.
Okay.
To me.
Getting into the plank position is discipline. Being in plank is courage for me. Do you know what I mean? It's like the physical thing of just like fighting against the plank. I would say
the decision to go to the gym and be vulnerable and work on yourself is courage. Okay. But the deciding to do an extra mile on the treadmill is not courage. It's self-discipline.
Okay, I get that. But courage now, what's interesting? The courage for me is now turning into is more about, it's like contempt for conformity.
Yes,
it's like,
definitely.
And I think that's so relevant now.
Of course.
And I feel like it's almost the life project is just now that we're all in this kind of digital panopticon of just like, are we thinking for ourselves?
Classic
like
moral courage.
Right. So it's like moral courage, I think, is just becoming really urgent to me personally. Yes. And it's so easy to slip into just the mob.
Yes.
So that's really important to me. And then temperance, you call it self-discipline, right? That's interesting.
Yeah, just because temperance is also a shitty word.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Like Epictetus said that you could summarize all of Stoicism in 2 words: persist and resist.
Right.
So it's doing the things you should do, not doing the things you shouldn't do. To me, that's temperance in a nutshell.
See, I think I like temperance personally because I think like I talk too much or I talk a lot and I just want to be like, don't talk so much, which
that's
is
discipline, though.
It is, but I think temperance, there's just like a coolness to it. It's just like, okay, just chill.
Yes.
And I feel like
the even keel part of Stoicism.
Yeah, and so I feel like I might need that. And it's about like not talking so much, talking less, talking wisely, humility, knowing your place. I mean, a really big thing for me, just like the psychology of it, is just that's really freeing, is just knowing your place in the system you're in.
Sure.
Because we can all just go in and feel like we're the biggest thing. It's all about me. All that matters is like what I'm going to take away from the Daily Stoic podcast. God damn it, whatever. But it's like, no, there's a whole system here that's happening. And so I feel like, especially when it comes to business stuff, when I was working in Hollywood, and I have I'd say values, skewed, is you would just want it so badly, and that a project going would just be
you have so
all
little
about
control
you.
over everything.
Right. And these other people have lives, they have problems. And so I think temperance to me is just like, I call it like right sizing my life, where you just like put yourself properly in the scheme of things. And I think that's a real spiritual practice.
Okay. So to go back to the 5-minute sort of daily Stoicism practice. So then you write those things and then you just think about these four virtues in the morning?
No, what I do is I figure out what I have to do that day, like whatever it is. And then I go to the virtue list and I will pick one or circle one or two, and it's all in a journal. And like I literally copy down my philosophy of life.
You write this first part every single day. You write this every single day.
Every single day I write it. And I write that every day. And it used to be, and I write about this in Go Gentle, but it for 10 years, it was virtue equals happiness. And only a couple months ago, I changed it to virtue equals freedom. Because I think freedom is so much bigger than happiness.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
And that's what I realized, that I think I was doing it for happiness for a long time. And now what I've achieved is freedom. And I'm like, no, that's the fucking bomb, is freedom.
Yes.
And so that to me is virtue equals freedom. And so I've been refining. So then I figure out what virtues I need. And then my next thing is to clarify my purpose. And I have the quotes there of my purpose quotes that I love, which is like Seneca without.
And this goes to what do you have to do today? What am I trying to do? What is a successful day for me? What are the challenges I'm likely to face today?
Exactly.
What do I need to bring my Stoicism to today?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm a writer, and many of the days when I'm working on a novel, it's like my writing. It's just about get off the internet, don't look at my phone. It's really just a whole elaborate system to not be on the internet, basically. Stoicism for me, you know, and I think it's very relevant for that reason. And so that's what I do, is then just kind of like get my game head on. And those I just read, and I just kind of like fire myself up.
If you don't know what port you're sailing to, no wind is favorable, love of bustle is not industry. It's not that life is short, so we waste too much of it. We're defined by what we devote our energy to. Don't do anything with a begrudging spirit. Agree to do it with promptness and courage.
I love that.
So you just run through these quotes as kind of
it's
helpful
just like,
reminders and mantras.
Yeah, to fire myself up for the game, So I do that. And then what I do is I pick one of my daily journal exercises.
Okay.
And it's like desire what I have. Desire what's in my control. Turn have to into get to.
Yeah, it's funny. You clearly struggle with that because you have it twice.
Oh.
You have turn have to into get to, and then you write, I get to do this.
Exactly that. I mean, this is like my little book is very revealing about my inner soul. No, that's what it is. It's like I protest too much.
Yeah, I don't want to do it, but I know I have to, or I'm resenting it. And you're like, how do I flip this and focus on that I'm alive.
Exactly.
And that by the way, this is my dream.
I am living the dream.
Well, no, and I would say, and to go back to Seneca's quote, it is foolish to undertake anything with a lazy and begrudging spirit. Anything you agree to do it with promptness and courage.
Exactly.
Like you signed up for this.
Yeah.
Do it. Be glad to do it. Don't do it reluctantly and with bitterness.
And I think no complaining is to me under temperance, right? I think I put that under temperance.
I would agree.
And so to me, that's what I do is I pick something and then I really frame my day that way. It's like I get to do this. It's like, I also love desire what you have. That to me is like, it's like a drug to me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sitting, I'm like, oh, you know what I wish I had is like this apartment on the Upper West Side. It's like, oh, I have an apartment on the Upper West Side.
I try to remind myself, hey, you wanted to write one book.
Yes.
You're so ahead. Like, this is what you wanted more than anything. And you get to do it. You are doing it. Focus on that, not what. And there's a Marcus Aurelius quote where he says, think about the things that you have.
Yes.
And how if you didn't have them, how desperately you'd want them. Mm-hmm. And also, I think it's worth saying, and maybe this is less Stoic, but I go, think about how many people would kill to have with this because they're currently starving in a hut somewhere or because they're on the outside clawing for just one of the 20 breaks that you've gotten in your career.
Yes.
Like, even though it's so tempting to be jealous of what others have, it's helpful to be reminded of how jealous others are of you. Even if you're in a jail in America it's better than being like there are people in a jail cell in some other country who would kill to be incarcerated here instead of there.
That's right. No, it is. And so I feel like I'm so living the dream. And also I think probably like you, my days can be varied, especially now that I have a book coming out. There's just all these different, and I love that. I love novelty, and I love, I get to do an interview today, and then tomorrow there's a photo shoot, or there's just all these events and things. And that's kind of fun to realize I get to do this because my last book was 10 years ago, you know, and that this is all I ever wanted out of this book was to finish the book and have the book like actually work, you know? Sure. So now that it really is something I dreamed of for 10 years and felt like in the depths of despair, like, oh, this book's not going to work. I'm never going to write another book. You know, maybe everything I had to say, I already put it in books. So this is such a wonderful like chapter. And I've got to just bring every amount of positivity to it. And I think optimism I have under courage, or is that would you say? I think or is that temperance?
No, I think hope is both courage and I would say wisdom.
Right. Oh, wisdom. Okay. Because I'm also kind of drifting into the optimism thing as being like very powerful because I think I maybe discounted it for a while of just like, oh, who needs that?
When you had that famous quote from Seneca in here about hope and fear being the same.
Oh.
But I don't know if I totally agree.
Oh, you know
what I mean? It's like it's a powerful idea, but I also think there is something about, I think the Stoics could have used a bit more hope.
Yes, I agree. And I'll say hope equals fear. That really was my gateway concept. It may be Seneca's first letter. I feel like it's in that letters.
He's quoting another
from a Stoic, but right? It's like isn't it one? And I think that was the first direct thing I read of the Stoics was the letters of Seneca. Yeah. And I read that and I was just like, game on. That is like crazy, you know, but I understood. Yeah. And the other, I think it's almost in the same sentence, is that the soldier isn't dragged by fate. You need to willingly go into your fate. You can't just complain and drag your feet about life or something. But I feel like that's in the same paragraph. And that really was the thing that I was like, okay, this is really interesting and I want to do more of this.
This idea of saying to yourself like, hey, I get to do this. I'm lucky. To me, one of the places it's really important to remind yourself of that is as a parent. You go like, hey, how many couples are struggling with infertility right now? How many families have buried a child?
Right.
Like, you get to do this.
Yes.
You and your spouse struggled, hoped, wanted this thing that you're now like, well, they just go to sleep, or like, I can't believe we got to go to drive all the stuff that bothers you about a parent you were dreaming of being lucky enough to get to do, and you do get to do it. And then it's worth reminding yourself that at some point in the not so distant future, you will be jealous of, as you're dragging your kids through the airport and you're carrying the car seats and they're whining and they want a pretzel. And then 10 years from now, you will be walking through an airport without your children and you will see someone else do it. And you will be filled with nostalgia and jealousy of that person who you are in the middle of complaining about while you're in it. You'll be jealous of yourself. And mad that you begrudgingly got through this moment instead of going like, I only get to do this so many times.
It's so amazing you use that example, because that's when almost like my deepest sadness is going through airports is about that, of like, oh, the family trips, and we used to go and she was little and we missed the plane and have one like carry her and run and all that stuff that just seems so awful at the time. And now whenever I see families traveling, it just like hits me in a place that Stoicism cannot touch. You know, it's like very powerful.
Yeah, I was talking to Dr. Pressman. She wrote this great parenting book, and I was telling her how my son is just utterly obsessed with Hamilton, and he listens to it every night when he goes to bed. We could be in the car for 1 second, turn on Hamilton, and
I love it.
It's like, if I have to listen to this Hamilton soundtrack one more time, I'm going to kill myself. And she was like, I went through the same thing with my daughter, and then she got over it, and she was like, the other day it came on in the car.
Yes.
And she was just like, I was just overwhelmed with a wave of sadness and nostalgia and affection for this like thing that was such a part of my life. It's like, you know, it's not going to last.
No.
And you're in the middle of begrudgingly resenting it and enduring it and suffering through it as if not that long in the future, you would give anything to go back to this moment that you're wasting.
Well, something that's related to that is Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, talks about the non-toothache state. That basically when you have a toothache, you're like, all I want is this toothache to be over. Like I do anything not to have a toothache. And then you don't have a toothache and you totally discount it.
Yeah.
And so he's saying like, you go through life, like realize you're in a non-toothache state. So I always think about that, the non-toothache state.
Yeah. You have the thing that you desperately wanted and in the future will desperately want again.
Yes.
But you can't allow yourself to just be in it.
Right.
And tell yourself, but if you tell yourself, hey, I get to drive them through traffic today.
Yes.
You know, I get to take the trash out today. I get to, whatever it is, you tell yourself, I get to do it. One thing we know for certain is you don't get to do it an unlimited amount of times.
That's right. So that really helps me.
So this is your Stoic practice. Is there any other parts of it after the journaling?
Well, then what I do is then if I'm really flipping out, then I have this many step protocol for how to calm myself down about it. And that's many steps, but that's, if you flip through, that's the next gray. I think the gray pages are like
so how long does this practice take you every morning?
Well, then of course I read the Stoics every day, and then
what do you read? You
just read whatever. I just go. It's really just Seneca's letters, Meditations,
you just pick
and
up one of the books
Epictetus.
and you just
No, I'm reading one of them, and then I just get to the end of it, then read the next one, then read the next one. It's those three.
It over.
Yeah, and then I also do the daily Stoic every day.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I do that every day, but I maybe read 2 or 3 or whatever. It's not like I do it according to the day. And I really do set a timer so I don't read too much philosophy because it is so easy to read. That's the thing that you want to just beg everyone to understand when they think like, oh, Miss Thing going around reading philosophy. And it's like, it's so easy. It's so easy to read this stuff. It's so pleasurable. It doesn't take any learning to just get into Seneca's letters. They're amazing.
And then, you got to have the self-discipline to close the thing and go to your actual real life.
Yes,
doing your thing. Yes,
then I write, and then I write. But I'm really like got my head in it. You know, I'm like, let's go. You know.
Okay, so I love your Stoicism origin story. I love this practice. But before we get into some of the Stoic practices, because I do think it's practical, I want to talk about how you are part of a Stoicism origin story for Oprah Winfrey. How does this like, because it's a crazy chain. Like I think about, okay, like somebody hands Marcus Aurelius Meditations, right? Somebody hands Admiral Stockdale Epictetus. Somebody hands, like it is this unbroken chain of thousands of years of people going, hey, like this worked for me. I think you should try. And you are the person who gave Stoicism to Oprah. How does this happen?
It's so amazing, right? It's so crazy. So I'd written Go Gentle, you know, and when you write a novel.
That's your Stoicism-inspired novel.
Exactly. And so I wrote Go Gentle, sold it. It takes 1.5 years for it to come out. And during that 1.5 years, your publisher desperately wants it to be an Oprah pick.
Yes.
And that's like kind of the thing that everyone wants. And authors obviously want that, even though you don't even dream of it because it doesn't happen to you. It happens to other people, you know? And so my publisher sent it to the Oprah Book Club team and they all loved it and gave a copy to Oprah, apparently. And she read it and loved it, from what I understand. And then I get this phone call out of the blue. And the first thing she says is, you know, I picked your book and I'm in that moment acting extremely unstoic, just screaming and going, my life has changed. And this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to me, which is like literally undoing every single like thing that I should have learned my life about Stoicism. But so after I freaked out, she said, I knew I was going to pick this book in that first scene when Adora is teaching Stoicism to the boys, to the, you know, because my character Adora
Hazard.
They
wanted a pair of expensive shoes or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then she's trying to explain about externals.
Yeah.
And that what, you know, and she's obviously taught them. So it's basically, she's the private moral ethical tutor to a rich family and their 2 little like rich kids. And the family has said like, try to drill some character into these kids. And so she has her after school every day, she meets them and then she uses the examples of Stoicism in philosophy. And so they want expensive sneakers and they don't get expensive sneakers. And then, or one of them got the expensive sneakers and the other one ruined the expensive sneakers because he didn't get them. So she's saying like, okay, what's an external? And there's like things that you want that you don't have. And she's like, okay, close enough. They're 11. So let's just give it them. And so what she's saying is the thing about externals is even if you get them, they make you miserable, right?
Yes.
That this is like the thing that she's choosing is that once you get them, then you're in a state of fear of losing them, and then you get like deranged and anxious about like, how am I going to keep it?
Right.
And so she's giving this lesson to these little boys. And so anyway, Oprah loved that.
Yeah, what did she say to you about Stoicism? Do you remember?
Well, okay. So what happened is, she then said, I knew that I would pick this book as soon as I saw that scene with the little boys. And she said, I'd never known about Stoicism. I didn't know what it was. And I read your book and I got so into it that I started reading the Stoics. And I'm really, really into it. And I can't wait to talk to you about it and tell the world about it, basically. And so that was just, I couldn't believe it on all these different levels. Like even just that I thought, wait, Oprah Winfrey now knows about Stoicism because of my novel. It's so wild. And then you can explain your origin story.
Well,
with your Oprah origin story.
Well, then I got it. I got an email from her producer asking me to come out to Maui to do an interview because she had read my books after she had read your books.
Yeah.
And I do think there is something kind of beautiful about that chain. Like somebody told me about the Stoics, and and you can't pay them back, right? But you can pay it forward. And you think about, why does 2,000 years ago there's this philosophy teacher teaching this kid he knows he's going to be, not kid, he's in his early 20s, but this kid is being groomed for power. And he goes, hey, I think you need to read the works of this slave.
Yes. Yes.
And it not only, first off, he reads it, right?
Yes.
How many book recommendations do you get? And you go, I'm not interested.
Right, totally.
But he reads it and then it changes the course of his life.
Yes.
And
history.
And history.
Yeah.
And how many people since found Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius and said, hey, I think this might work for you. And that's kind of this journey that we're all on. It's not quite evangelism because you're not actually obligated to do it. Stoicism is this thing that you just didn't know existed. And when you do hear about it, you're like, this is exactly what I was looking for.
Exactly. And then you get excited. And if you're an enthusiast like I am and like you are, you can't wait to like talk to people about it. And you're not trying to, lay on any religion, but it's just, it like really has helped me. It has saved me in so many ways. And I'm just a life of meditation, therapy, all California stuff, that I did. I've tried everything. And I really feel like this has come close to saving me.
And it's funny, like, for you, it came through a novel. I remember my book, The Obstacle Is the Way, made its way through professional sports. And somehow Pete Carroll, who's the coach of the Seahawks, reads it. And he's reading this thing. And then he calls the team psychologist into his office. And he's like, Michael, do you know about this thing called Stoicism? And he was like, yeah, we all studied it in school. And he's like, but I didn't. He's like, I was a football player, and like, so it's like some people know about it.
Yes.
And it's this kind of open secret. And then there are these other people, usually people who are too busy doing things or out living. They just didn't know that there was a philosophy that could help them with their life, because that's not what we think of philosophy as. We think of philosophy as theoretical and abstract, or, it's academic. It's not a thing that you would have a tutor come teach your kids so they'd be better human beings.
Right.
But that's what they did 2,500 years ago.
Right. And the Romans really turned it into pop psychology, and that's what I love about it, is it really is. And it's, AA, it's CBT, it's all it's the let them theory. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm just like going to say that all of that is Stoicism, and so it is psychology. And that's how I kind of trick people into reading it. I'm like, it's really just self-help. And they're like, oh, really? It's because people love self-help. They don't want to read philosophy, but they want to read about themselves.
It was surreal to have Oprah, when we did the interview, she's like reading. She's like, oh, and this is my favorite passage. She's reading out some thing, which is me just riffing on the Stoics. But it's just like, when I sat down to write about an obscure school of ancient philosophy and my publisher was as uninterested in it as they could be.
Of course, wow.
This is not where I expected it to go, 12 years later.
To be at Oprah's house in Maui,
yes.
having her read parts of your book back to you.
Exactly.
So crazy, right?
It's totally
so
crazy.
weird. And I mean, I feel this with you. I feel it more with her, which you understand because she's whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's to be sitting across from the person. You're like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
and Oprah, I'm sure you felt that. You're in the middle of an answer. You were like, wait, hang on a second. Like, it's like Oprah Winfrey's right there. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. And that this is, I mean, I guess there's probably some people who are not upset, but they're like, well, I'm like, I want as many people to know about this as possible. And I don't really care the entry point that you come in.
Right.
Like, she has such a direct line to so many people that, again, would not think, oh, I want to learn about philosophy from a bunch of old dead white dudes.
Yeah.
What could they possibly tell me about my modern life?
Yes.
And it's like actually a lot. And so anyone that wants to be part of that thing, whether it's Oprah or I got to talk about it on Joe Rogan, like I'm all about it. Like me, no judgment. Like if you have a platform, if you have an audience and you want to take this to them, like, how can I help? That's how I think about it.
And what's interesting is when you write a novel, like my novel is about all these different things. It's about a woman who's single and in her late 50s and kind of starting life over. It's about philosophy. There's all this stuff about misogyny and sexual assault in it. It's a romance. It's art theft. It's like all this crazy shit in this book. It's crazy. It's really a lot. And now that the book is kind of getting out in the world, really the thing that people are going nuts over is the Stoicism, which and moms and things that I never would have thought. And people, I mean, I've gotten so many messages already of like, I want to read Adora's Stoic books. I want to read I want to read her books. And so I thank you in my book, in the back of my acknowledgments, but also the other writers that I think people should go to. But there is this tendency that people don't want to read the Stoics themselves. I'm sure you found this, right? And there's this resistance. I mean, but lucky for you, they want to read you. So that's like good that you
I always try to remind people, like, nobody said it better than the Stoics.
Yes.
And so people go like, what would be a good Stoic book for my 16-year-old? It's like, if your 16-year-old lived in ancient Greece or Rome, they'd just be reading the originals.
Yes,
and they thought that you were more than mentally capable of reading that.
Yes.
And I think we sometimes baby kids and people about books. Like, there is no one who is not capable of reading the Stoics. What I try to do in my books is, as you try to do in yours, is to take the ideas and illustrate them.
Yes.
Or portray them in what it might look like in either a real or a fictional situation, which is different than laying out the idea itself.
Right. No, and you use all the great stories throughout history.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like I could, I probably not win Jeopardy, maybe come in second in Jeopardy just from reading all about your historical examples.
Well, that's just me crisscrossing my two favorite things, which is Stoicism and history.
Yeah.
I do think Stoicism, like, people tend to assume that everyone who's interested in Stoicism is a dude.
Right.
It has a masculine energy. I think that's changing, but why do you think it struck you as a woman, and why do you think women who are reading the novel are so lit up about that theme?
Interesting. Well, and that's what I love about the Oprah aspect of it, is I feel like, wow, maybe this is going to turn moms and, women onto Stoicism, which would be like just so weird. And it just makes me so happy, the thought of that. But I think that, and I haven't really given it much thought, but now that you say it, I think that I offer a kind of a softer version of Stoicism in my novel, which I feel like I've engineered for myself over the years.
Yeah.
And that.
What do you feel you're softening?
Well, it becomes the story of my novel, which is that I think when I first discovered Stoicism, I really loved the idea that there are like no victims, that everything that happened, or this is how I interpreted it. Everything that happened to me, it was a fault of my character. And I was responsible for my unhappiness, let's just say. I still believe that, but I think in the early days, it was very self-punishing of me, and it was self-punishing. And so I think that chicks don't take to that, as well as men do, I think, but for a while, I'd say it's really liberating when you're like struggling with your emotions or your neuroses or whatever, these patterns you can't get out of. For a moment, there's just this like self-empowerment, which is like, I did it to myself, like you don't want to be a victim. They
didn't offend me. I took offense. So
I took offense. And so you're like, I can work with this, and I can do it. And so I think that what that can lead to is just being too like harsh on yourself, and I don't think you can be too forgiving of other people, but just like keeping yourself maybe in situations that aren't good because you're like, I got to just gut through this. It's all me. It's all me.
Yeah.
And I think that I personally don't like that my novel's called Go Gentle, and it really is ultimately, that's the journey of Adora Hazard, is that she, starts out being really harsh. And it's like, I looked for the quote and it wasn't really the quote. I'd misremembered it, but it was like, be hard on yourself and easy on others. Isn't there, Marcus?
Strict with yourself, tolerant of others.
Right. That's Marcus?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that I felt that I had kind of overdone in my youth, and it's not that I've moved into like victimhood or blame or whatever, but there's just kind of a loosening of right now. I feel like, and it's also age really helps. Just a lot of times when I explain why I like Stoicism, I say it makes you philosophical. It kind of
lowercase
p. It just you
big
step
picture.
Yeah, and it's like, does it really matter? It doesn't matter that much. It all just feels like there's not that much. It's not that there's that much at stake, but it's like, it's all going to work out. And
or
so,
it's not.
or it's not. But as you're the master of, is when it doesn't, it still does.
Well, that's what I mean. Like maybe your early read on Stoicism is like, it's all going to work out. And then the more philosophical one is like, or maybe it won't. And that is also working itself out.
And that works out. Exactly.
It's just you just have a bigger perspective on things.
A larger perspective. And so for me, I think and also I would say and I'm very curious to hear what you think about this, is that I feel like there's not a lot about love in Stoicism. There's like justice and there's this thing. But
where would you put love under the four virtues?
I mean, I don't think you put it anywhere. I mean, I think it doesn't belong there. I think that Christianity brought in love, and then I think I write about that in my book, that's her big revelation when she realizes that like Stoicism is limited. It can only like help her in certain ways of her life. But what about love and chaos? Those are human. Those are great. Like if I fell in love tomorrow, I mean, I'd be very interested because I like have not fallen in love as a Stoic, but I would hope if I fall in love, I just lose my fucking mind. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, and look, then I'd pay 10 times for it and the tenfold in the future of misery. But still, that's a human experience. I want that. So what do you think about that?
I mean, I thought about this a lot during the Virtue series. Where do you put it? And I ended up putting it in justice, like our affection for each other, our connection to human beings, our obligations to each other. I told the story towards the end of Right Thing Right Now about Charles de Gaulle and his wife have this daughter with Down syndrome at a time when you would ship a child like that away.
Yeah.
And they don't. And she's like the apple of his eye, and they go on these long walks together. They had this like profoundly loving relationship, and the sort of philosophical beauty of that, as well as the sort of selflessness of that, and the sort of connecting to something bigger than yourself of that strikes me as like what justice is ultimately about. Justice isn't like, I gave you my word, I'm going to do it, or like I am scrupulously honest. It's the selflessness and the giving yourself over to things. So I put it there, and then I would probably also put it in wisdom, in the sense of like, what's this all for if it's not for
love.
Love and other people.
But see, I'm talking about like madness, which I do think that there's value in it, and when I write, it's all within the Stoic paradigm. Like, I'm not saying madness out of, like, I can't write my books without madness, Like, no, I need to reason.
The irrational exuberance of those early days of falling in love with someone.
Falling in love. And then there's a mother-daughter relationship in my book, and there's when the daughter's just being a nasty little bitch, and she's, like, enjoying her and getting frustrated by her, and then they fall asleep together. And they have to sleep on an air mattress, and she kind of hugs her daughter and she says, the Stoic makes some good points, but none of them are mothers.
Yes.
And I just think that love of a child that have just like to be so bedeviled. And I don't want to reason myself out of the frustration and the craving of my daughter.
Well, there's this passage I think about in meditations all the time, which I think goes to this. And again, our perspective on who the Stoics were. I just don't know if we fully give them credit for who they were as actual human beings, which is a little bit more well-rounded. This is Mark Aurelius saying what he learns from Sextus. He says, kindness, an example of fatherly authority in the home, what it means to live as nature requires, to show intuitive sympathy for friends, tolerance for amateurs and sloppy thinkers, his ability to get along with everyone, sharing his company was the highest of compliments, the opportunity, blah, 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 blah. It says not to display anger or other emotions, to be free of passion, yet full of love.
Right.
So to me, that's right. He's talking about how can you be philosophical and be stoic within the frustrating, aggravating, beautiful, crazy, inexplicableness of human relationships, especially family and the people you care the most about.
Right.
So I think to me, what Stoicism is kind of like, well, look, let's get rid of the madness of anger, the madness of lust or jealousy or anxiety or fear. Let's push those aside. And then if we're going to make room for any of the passions, love is the one we're going to make the exception for.
But then it does get into attachment in a way that I think is good, like it's very hard to love without attachment, you know?
And again, what the Stoics write, and then you go, but Marcus, you had 11 children. Like clearly what he's trying to do is remind himself of how attachments can be irrational or, how we can lose things or how you don't control their people within the context of the default being you have a family, you love your spouse, blah, blah, blah. So it's like people go, well, they say here, ambition is bad. Don't have ambition. And it's like, yes, but the person saying that was an extremely ambitious person.
Right.
They're not saying that because they're sitting in an ashram somewhere not doing anything or in a year-long silent meditation retreat. They're saying that in the forum, running for this office or that office. The context with which they're saying it's not that they're hypocritical. It's that they're saying, hey, just understand what ambition is if you're going to have it, because it's like they're playing with the fire, but then also reminding themselves that it's dangerous.
Right.
I think that's an important lens on it.
Yeah, and that does come from age. I think a lot of it does, or just experience. It's not even, it just comes from experience, which is good.
Well, so to go to the female Stoic thing, I wanted to. So we did this video a couple months ago about Stoic women in history.
Okay, good. Please let me know.
One of the ones we talked about was Portia Cato, because Cato's daughter.
Okay.
Cato's daughter is in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. She's married to Brutus. A lot of people don't know this.
Okay.
And there's this famous scene where, to prove herself worthy of being included in the conspiracy, she stabs herself in the leg.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And then binds up the wound just to see, like, hey, could she withstand torture? And when she does, she goes, anyways. So these are some of the comments. I thought you'd like this.
Okay.
The very essence of a woman's life is an exercise in Stoicism.
Okay.
I thought that was funny. And then this one, someone said, she stabbed herself in the thigh, bound the untreated wound, suffered with fever for several days, and her husband didn't even notice. Yeah, that tracks. Considering what men have done to women throughout history, men are very lucky that so many women are Stoic.
Yes.
Because I think about, you hear these stories about, it's like, this Stoic gladly goes into exile. But it's like, who's he dragging along with him? Or who's staying behind?
That's right.
The person who not only had to put up with it and deal with the consequences, but who don't even dignify with a name.
Yeah.
Like, that's Stoicism right there.
Well, I agree. And I do think that being a mother, that there are those, at a certain age, when the kid is sick and you're sick and you still have to be like the woman of the household and do those things, and then you have your work and you do that, you just put your head down and you do it. And I will say, no hate, Ryan. I think women do a much better job at that than men do.
Well, people are always like, women are so emotional. It's like, actually, we portray emotional as being like crying or afraid. And then it's like a dude gets angry and he punches a wall. And we're like, that's so masculine. It's like, that was extremely emotional. And Mark Aurelius talks about that in Meditations. Always like, it's not manly to lose your temper and break things. Like, I think about like our current political environment. I go, these are incredibly emotional, like fragile snowflakes who are going around saying like women shouldn't be in combat roles because they're too sensitive.
It's really true. And I always think that women are so much more practical than men. I have that line in the book, is what she talks about something and says, women, you can't accuse us of not being practical. Like,
Yes.
I think that we are extremely, and I think it scares men. And when they really see how practical women are, like I have my women friends and we talk about we practically like go through the problems. I think it would terrify men. And so I do think that women do have a certain, there's just this baked in stoicism to how we go through the day that we don't get credit for. It's not like we're not portraits in courage when we stay home with the kids. You know, a man is like, you know, oh my God, look, he's babysitting the kids tonight. And you're like, oh, you mean he's like co-parenting?
Being a dad. Yeah.
Exactly. And so there's like that type of thing. So I think maybe that's why women maybe are responding to it is because it's really already aligns with a lot of how they go through their days.
Yeah, there's it's Aeschylus or Euripides, whichever one fought the Persians at the Battle of Marathon. He famously said, you know, I would rather stand in battle 3 times than give birth once.
Yes. That's very true. No, I know the childbirth thing is a whole other level.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Just the pain.
Yeah, I think, and I think there is something where, you know, Stoicism as a masculine philosophy historically makes sense because it was the men who had to go into battle or were allowed to participate in public life.
Right.
And then as you go into a more equal society where women are in positions of leadership and stress in ways that historically they only a few exceptions were permitted to, of course, suddenly this philosophy is going to seem a lot more practical and accessible and not stupid to them.
Right. And a lot of my Stoic, I think when I really put the burners on Stoicism for me when I was working in Hollywood and I was developing TV shows. And I really needed just an operating system not to lose my mind.
It's a heartbreaking system of like, we got to the 1 yard line and then somebody went like this.
That's right.
You know?
And it's that. And you get frustrated. You just this constant state of agita that I felt like I was in because of this career. And so I think Stoicism is really, really good for that. You know, and I have my protocol about before phone calls.
I want to go over that.
Before Zoom meetings, which is really just all basically about Hollywood.
And then these are the comments I thought you should respond to. Okay, these are the last 3. God, no, maybe if they were raised to be stoic instead of following every fleeting emotion. Women are boring. Do you think catering to women is going to help your channel? I'm not watching this. And then it says, then why do women overreact so much? Why do they struggle so much with emotions? Why do they act so much on passions? Why do they struggle so much with discipline, indulging in pleasures, and being so inconsistent? Why do they get all over the place every month? And it's like, the hilariousness of, I'm also thinking of like, how emotional do you have to be as a person to write that comment on a video under your real name?
Right. Exactly.
Not thinking through the consequences. But
well, I'd say that when there's systems that are against you, you have to get your head on straight about it, you know, about like, how are you going to react in these situations, you know? And so I think that I mean, women have, you know, certainly a degree of exposure to that, you know, people of color, et cetera, you know? And so I think that there are a lot of people who the system is set up against them. And so I think you do have to have a plan for that, you know? It's like, you got to figure it out. Like, and that's where you need a philosophy of life, I think, because every injustice is going to make you angry, make you crazy. You know, one of my things that I say is during my protocols for when I'm about to get wigged out or when I am getting wigged out about something and what to do is just like, don't make it worse. You know, is number one. It's
the
just
first
like
rule of holes.
Yes, I have that in my book. The first rule of holes, man, is just don't make it worse. Like that is
stop
just
digging.
Yeah, that's the first rule of holes is when you find yourself in holes, stop digging. And that's what I find that I feel like with that you do, you know, in specific situations, but just largely you have to come up with a plan. And you really do. You want to be kind of Steve Jobs with the turtleneck. You know, you want to just be like, that's nothing that bothers me. Like, that's just, I've made an executive decision that I won't go there. I won't start getting myself worked up. I won't bring other people into it. I won't talk about it constantly. It's just like not going to be my problem. And I do think then you get to be productive, and then you get to write books and you get to do things with your time, So I think you do have to come up with a plan.
Well, and I think sometimes people go, well, what could the Stoics teach me? This is just a bunch of privileged old white guys. And it's like, okay, first off, you have no conception of what the Roman Empire was because you think they're all blonde and blue eyes because you saw movies made in the 50s.
Right. But half of them were enslaved, first of all.
It's like from Spain to Turkey to North Africa is an enormous swath of population of different skin colors and cultures and environments. And it's like, yeah, sure, you have Marcus Aurelius, but actually the beauty of Stoicism is that you have Marcus Aurelius directly influenced by Epictetus.
Right.
So you have extreme power who's wrestling with the fact that for all his power and success and fame, he's still constrained fundamentally by all the things in life he doesn't control.
Right.
And then you have Epictetus who is disadvantaged, discriminated against, persecuted, abused, suffers. And yet for all of his seemingly prescribed nature of his life and the limitations, he's actually so powerful and has so much ownership of himself that Marcus Aurelius and also Hadrian, two emperors who are changed by his work, are envious of him.
That's right.
And
study him.
That's what the Stoics have to teach you.
Well, you know what? I think why Stoicism is big now, or why it's getting big, and why particularly with like the tech world or whatever, my theory about that is because it's when you have everything that should have made you happy and you're not happy.
Yes.
Right? And I think that this really answers that cry of the soul, as they say, is that you're like, wow, I should have been happy by now.
Yeah.
Like society told me what to go after and I did it. I got the witch's broom and now I'm still unhappy, and how the fuck did that happen to me? And people go out of their minds about and then you keep you're on the hedonic treadmill. You just want more and more. It still doesn't make you happy. And I think that Stoicism is just like a circuit breaker in that. It's like, check yourself. The whole system is at fault. Like the messages, everything was wrong. You have to switch it out for something. So that's why I think right now it's really big, and maybe the Roman Empire as well not the Epictetus.
Well, it's what's remarkable about the moment in time we're in right now is that we're experiencing extreme prosperity and technology and all these wonderful things.
Right.
We're freer than have ever been before in history.
Richer,
and have more, and yet also experiencing instability and uncertainty and difficulty and death in the form of a pandemic and wars. And political corruption and chaos and dysfunction. And so you're like, oh, okay, it's never actually going to be normal. It's never actually going to be calm. You think you can just have the good things, but bad comes along with the good.
Yeah.
And that we're all, that this is just fundamentally what everyone has been dealing with for all time. And it turns out that for thousands of years, people have been figuring out strategies for how to navigate it.
Exactly.
There's a story John Adams tells where, there's this poor shoe cobbler in Boston, and he takes his shoes. He doesn't always need them to be repaired, but he's taking them to this guy just to be nice. And, he goes and he visits, and there's like 10 kids and they're living in this sort of hovel, and drops off the shoes. And then a couple days later, he comes back to pick them up. And as he walks up, he can hear the guy working in there, and he's whistling and singing. He was like, he was happy to a degree that Epictetus could not have even imagined, and he's like, how is this possible? Like he's going as I think Epictetus and the Stoics are talking about, you get so caught up with your own problems and then you look and you're like, how is that person who has it way worse than me?
Right.
Smiling from ear to ear, loving life, grateful, appreciative. I must be doing something wrong.
Yes.
And what Stoicism does is it goes, here's all the things you're doing wrong. You're focused on what's not in your control. You have too many opinions.
Yes.
You're not being resilient enough. They walk you through the protocol and they help you get to where that is.
Yes. And then I think what really helps me is that the passions are based on faulty judgments.
Yes.
That you basically judge something wrong.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think that to me is like totally freeing, and I apply it every day. Like as soon as you're anxious or you're upset about something, it's like you've made a false assumption about something. And so go back and figure out what the false assumption is. And that actually can really help help the emotions.
You sort of apply Stoicism in a bunch of situations in your life that I thought some of them, it's funny. It's like they could not have imagined 2,000 years later, this is what they would be applying them to. But you're like, here are, you laid out some Stoic protocols before you get on a Zoom call with someone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Walk me through them.
Okay. Assume good intent. Okay. You just have to think no one's there to hurt you, which, okay, no comment there. List the positive qualities of who I'm interacting with. And again, even that shift, that's like goes to the optimism thing. I really think that just that shift into like, oh, these are all good people who I want to be spending time with, that can change everything. I get to do this, my favorite, because also that's the thing. You know what? If I'm on a conference call with Apple about my Olivia Colman project, that's pretty fucking cool that I'm in that situation. Yeah. It ended up breaking my heart and it didn't turn out, but still, that's kind of amazing that I got to be in the arena, right? Yeah. I'm just like, we're in the arena. Like,
and they're not all great. It's just like, I got a call with legal review. I got a call. There's also the not fun parts, but that's still part of a fun thing. This is the tax that you have to pay.
Very much so.
On the good thing that you get to do.
Yes, very much so. Humility, understand my place, as we talked about, just that it's not all about me. The main character energy, it's that type of thing. When you write scenes or in any kind of writing, they say make sure all the other characters have as much intention and stakes going on in the scene as like your character. Who's the person I want to be? That's a really big one. And it's not like manipulative, but it's because really the person I want to be is like a reasonable, collaborative, pleasant person to be around. And I can do that. You know?
I go and it's like, hey, I am not going to lose my temper in this meeting. Even though I'm pissed, I'm going to handle it. I'm going to be calm the entire time. That's the person I want to be in this.
And that's what I want to be. And that's totally in your control. What virtues will I employ? I go to if it's like talking less, that's usually what it is for me. Yeah. So it's like, but then the subsets is like talking less, which leads to listen, don't interrupt, speak less.
Two ears, one mouth, as Zeno says.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's great. Okay. This is big for me. Be open to where it goes. This is a fresh experience. Don't try to put it into past patterns, which is like being in the present. Don't like just be in the past about this. Don't just say they always do this to me. Don't have like some story about it that you're bringing into it because it just closes off all of this possibility to actually make it a good experience. I know what they're going to do. Yeah. I know that they're just going to say this and then and you're like, no, why don't you just take this as a new experience? Sure. It's about being in the present. Always okay to say, let me think about it. No, see, that's big for me because I have like anxiety.
Don't give an answer in the room, as they say.
Okay, say, I'm sure you know about business, but is that what they say?
Well, that's one of it. It's like,
okay, good. No, that's a good thing.
You don't have to decide on the spot. You have more control than you might feel in the moment.
Interesting, because in the moment, like if they're like, oh, well, what if you write a second script before we pick you up? I'm like, okay, like why don't I just agree to that? No, they said they'd pick up my show after one script and have to write a whole second script, and you go, yes, but it's always, so that to me is again like a breaker on just like, don't let the anxiety. Right. And then the last one is, which is a really big one, assent to reality. Take seriously what I hear, write it down. Yeah. Because I can have my imagination, you hear one little thing and you hear the thing you want to hear, and that's what you think the Zoom call was, but it maybe was just someone being nice and there was a lot of things you don't want to hear,
Here's two I'm going to add.
Okay,
so
please.
I refuse to do any Zoom calls sitting down. I only walk. I go, sorry, they were doing construction in my office, or like, sorry, I'm on the road.
So you're in fresh air.
And I'll just walk. Oh. And so it's like, at the very least, I got a 45-minute, like the call was a complete the call could have been an email, as 95% of the time they could have been, but I at least got a 45-minute walk in.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
good.
how I think about that. And then the other one I would add, though, this is Seneca's thing, which, he says, it's not that life is short, it's that we waste too much of it. I would say, be aware of the time. Like, sometimes people get on Zoom calls and they're like, it's going to take as long as it's going to take. And it's like, no. I scheduled this Zoom call for 35 minutes and I'm getting off at 30. Like,
that's
so be open to where it goes, of course. But I also think it's like, you are paying for this Zoom call with your life.
Right.
And I do try to go, hey guys, I got to run.
Right. Okay, good.
Or if I'm not that important in the thing, I'm like,
Yeah, right.
Oops, I dropped off.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, well, there's a lot that you don't need to sit and be there for.
Exactly. And so I
Yes.
think sometimes people get, like, I remember I was looking at someone I know's schedule and I was like, did you spend 6 hours today on Zoom? Like,
Yeah.
I know you felt like that was work, but you understand that you didn't work for those 6 hours.
That's right.
Like,
right.
be diligent of the most important resource you have, which is your time, and be willing to have the courage and the self-discipline to stand up for that time and cut it off when it needs to be cut off.
That's good. Well, I always like to be running the meetings.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to be in a
Yes.
meeting that someone else is running,
Yes.
you know, like
That's a great
just
point.
to be. And so that to me is like why I like being a showrunner, for instance, and not just on the staff, because I don't waste other people's time and I don't waste my time.
Yeah.
And I really don't like to be. And it's only so much can you say on a Zoom call of like, okay, you guys, will you do this another time? I don't need to be here for this.
Yes.
Like, can we go to the thing that I need to be here for?
Sure.
And you do that sometime else. So it's good to, when you're a boss, then you can just like do what you need to do on the call and get off.
But I think deciding, hey, I'm going to be the boss of my own life here and not just passively allow people to consume endless amounts of my time.
Yes.
And by the way, I would say the way that you can say, I get to do this, to be present for it, to be open for it, like on that Zoom call, is by first not being on 95% of the Zoom calls that like you might have otherwise been on. But Mark Aurelius talks about this in Meditations where he says, ask yourself, is this essential? Like, does this actually need to be happening?
Right.
And then, because most of it doesn't.
Yeah,
and if it doesn't need to be happening, you eliminate it. And what that allows you to do is actually be present and contribute and not be resentful of the ones that you are on.
Right.
Like, if I only rarely get on the phone, when I get on the phone, I'm going to be like, hey, this is one of the times I have to be on the phone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be there for it.
Right.
As opposed to phoning it in literally because I agree to way too many of these.
That's right. That's right. No, I think that's really good. And it's just always, and I think that's really what I do every day when I start out. That's what the Stoicism does for me. Yeah. It's just like, what am I going to fit into the day that's the best for me in terms of just like flourishing, right? Like what I think I'm meant to write novels. I love writing novels. I want to write novels. That's what I want to do. How can I arrange my time and my to-do list and everything so that I can like really crush what I'm here to do?
When you're saying yes to this, you are not writing novels.
Yes.
And so,
yeah.
So life is dealing with other people, right?
Yes.
And philosophy, I think, is there to help us deal with other people.
Yes.
What are some Stoic protocols for social situations?
List the positive qualities of who I'm seeing.
Yeah.
What's in my control? My own behavior and actions.
Right. You don't control what they say. You control how you respond to what they say.
Right. And if I'm on time, if I stand up straight, if I'm thank the host, or whatever it is, it's like if you're just conduct yourself in a positive way. What virtues can I practice? Again, not talking too much.
The famous quote that I built the obstacles away around is Mark Aurelius saying, what stands in the way becomes the way. And people take that because I put a little ellipses in the quote that he means like a fire, a bankruptcy, an injury. But he's specifically talking about annoying people.
Right.
Like he's talking about people. He says people can obstruct us and cause problems for us.
Yes.
And so when he's saying that there's an opportunity, he doesn't mean that, hey, a global crisis skyrockets the price of oil and drives you out of business. Mm-hmm. What's the opportunity there? He's more saying like somebody is an asshole to you. There's an opportunity for you to practice virtue in how you respond.
Right.
By not being an asshole back, by forgiving them, by standing up for yourself, by empathizing with what they're going through. Right. He's saying that other people are always a chance for us to practice virtue.
Well, also one of a quote that I think I made up that's one of my favorite quotes is the low road will always dog you. Like that basically the high road, you can go to sleep feeling good about yourself. The low road, you might 10 years from now being like walking down the street and going, why did I have to be like cutting to that person in that situation for no reason? And so I think just on a practical level, it makes sense to just be virtuous and be the person you want to be, because then it's like not clogging up your brain with like regret and, okay, who's the person I want to be? I get to do this. Yeah. Don't be in control mode. Let it unfold and surprise, right? Just like, let them, because I think a lot of my Stoic practice comes from anxiety, and so I think that's from, you talk a lot, you kind of are wanting to fill the silences maybe.
Sure.
And so I think that's what I'm speaking to, is just like, let it unfold, you know?
Well, what that brings up for me is like, obviously Stoicism has helped me be, very diligent about my time,
Yes.
very firm about my boundaries, not doing things that I shouldn't, I don't want to do, that's not good for me to do, forcing me to be productive, concentrate, etc.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, and so I'm glad all the things that it helps me say no to.
Yeah.
But then I look back and I go, hey, like, so much of my life has been shaped by serendipity. Like,
Yes.
I met my book agent at a conference that I didn't want to go to,
Right.
that I agreed to go to.
Right.
And that changed the whole course of my life.
Right.
And so also, if Stoicism is for you, always doing things the way you want them to do, want them to go or whatever, you're going to miss out on a lot of good things that should happen too. And sometimes our approach to social situations is actually like making our world smaller than it should be.
Right. Well, under temperance, I have flexibility, which I'm loving. I mean, to me, that I journal about that a lot, because I actually think that's a real key, and it is Stoic.
Yeah.
It's because, like you say, I think a lot of people think Stoic is just boundaries and you have your blinders on, but to just be cool with the way that things play out, it's amor fati. It's just like whatever's going to happen, I'm here for it, you know, and I'm going to bring my best to it. And so to me, I really love flexibility as a virtue, and in social situations also, because, like, I'm not going to want to go out to a bar with a bunch of people I don't know after dinner. I want to get home. But maybe if that's like the thing to do, I'll go out to the bar.
1 out of 20 times, it could be life-changing.
Yeah, it could be great. So I think it's just that it then again is just you write about taking the I out of the situation, which, it's not just, it's like, no, there's a group of people here. It's not just me, me, me. I'm not just this baby who gets to do what I want, just like, turn the volume down on that, So that's what this is about. Speak less.
Mm-hmm. 2 ears, one mouth for a reason, as Zeno says.
Exactly. Enjoy this rare opportunity. I really feel like I'm living a really privileged, gifted life, and almost every situation I'm in is pretty amazing. That you look back on it and you're like, wow, did that really happen to me? That was so magical.
Have you read The Boy, the Fox, the Horse, and the Mole? It's like this little children's fable.
No.
Yeah, there's this great page. I think about it all the time. We actually have it framed on my wall of the house. It says, sometimes I find it hard to say I love you, so I just say, I'm so glad we're all together.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we're all hanging out. How often do we get to do this?
How do we do
like
this?
The whole family is never in the same place at one time or whatever. Like it's awesome we're here today.
It is. And Thich Nhat Hanh has a quote that I love, that he says the four most important words are, darling, I am here.
Aw.
Isn't that sweet? That's great. What I feel like. It's that. Yeah. It's just like, look, we're together. Sure. This is so great. We're together. Okay. Assume good intent, the same thing. And then these are the good old days.
Yes.
We're going to be nostalgic for this. Yeah. Like by nightfall, I'm going to be nostalgic for the thing that happened, And so I think that really helps. I talk about, like in my little Stoic book, about just bringing like the deathbed energy to everything.
At some point, you would trade anything for 5 more minutes of this.
Yes. Yeah. And that these really are, you'll look back and when the life flashes in front of you, this one little microtransaction might be the thing that just somehow stays in your heart, and then you die. And so I feel like I really am trying to bring that to my social situations.
All right. So 2 more. One you have in here. Okay. So life is stressful. Life is overwhelming. Life is difficult. How can Stoicism help us have more tranquility?
Stoic protocols for when externals disrupt my tranquility. Number 1, what happened? Label the event. Strip it down to a few words, or as you would say, take the I out of it. Marcus Aurelius, say nothing more to yourself than what first appearances report. Yes. Okay, so that's all it is.
He
it's
talks
just
about
the
stripping
label.
Things from the legend that see, this is just what it is. Like, I am late, or I am stuck in traffic. Not, I'm in the worst traffic you've ever seen. Like, we just throw this extra shit on top of
It's
the situation.
Just late. It's late. Okay, it's I'm meeting for dinner late. Okay, what's the judgment that's causing me to suffer? Now, if I was late, Ryan doesn't like me. He's going to think I'm a flake. He's going to, they're going
to cancel the contract. They're going to hate me forever.
All of that stuff. So I'm not suffering because I'm late. I'm suffering because I've made this judgment.
And you're also suffering in advance. It actually hasn't, that might happen. But like Seneca talks about, like, account for what it meant or for what it means when, in fact, that does happen.
That's right.
Like, don't suffer in advance.
No, and I love that he says, like, is it that bad right now?
Yes.
And you're like, no, actually, it's not that bad right now. Like, right now, it's not that bad. In fact, when I had a home birth with no drugs, and one of the things that I realized was very stoic of me before I even knew what Stoicism was that the contractions were so horrible and it was so intolerable that the minute they were over, I was like, I'm not having a contraction now. I was just like so happy to be in like a non-contraction state. And why in between contractions, fear the next contraction, because you're like, no, that's going to happen. I'll get there soon enough. And right now, just enjoy the fact that I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Seneca says, he who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than it's necessary.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Name the emotion. Like rejection, disappointment, shame, panic, feeling misunderstood, just name it. And once you name it, to me, I say, when I boil it down to one word, it's suddenly not so threatening and unmanageable. It puts me in the camp of millions of others feeling the same thing. It kind of connects me to humanity. You know, if it's just rejection, oh my God, so many people right now, and almost like opens your heart to it. Examine the emotion. We know what that is. Pause and accept. Okay, accept that this has happened. The only option available is how I proceed. An immediate reaction fueled by anxiety, anger, or an unwillingness to accept reality will only cause more suffering. Don't take action. Don't make it worse. The first rule of holes, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. That's a really big thing for me. And I think that that's like really in our culture. I think that especially people with money, they just think that they don't accept that something happened. They're just like, oh, we'll throw money at it, or we'll just make it not happen. And that's just it's gross and it's a waste of so much. And why not just say, okay, this happened? Yeah. And that's already freeing. Okay, practice the art of acquiescence, which is, it's only bad if you fight it, right? This too shall pass. That's a really big one, right?
Yeah, was it 4 words that are true in every situation?
Okay, right. Exactly, the magic.
Good ones, bad ones, horrible ones.
Unlocks the key to unlock everything. And it's Marcus Aurelius, everything you see changes in a moment and will soon be gone. Keep in mind always how many of these changes you've already seen, right? Number 8, the friend test, which is basically, if this happened to someone else, would you really be that upset about it?
Right. You tell them, dude, it's fine.
Yeah, like get
Don't
over it.
Don't worry about it.
Doesn't matter if someone's like, I was so late
Don't
and they're all
ruin
worked
your
up.
Life. Yeah.
No, and the minute that, and it's like, would they feel just physical, like adrenaline and like would you feel that for them? No.
And would you let them beat themselves up about it?
Right. No, exactly. So just be that kind person to yourself. Connect to the present, which is the Seneca thing. Am I in physical danger? Have I lost everything? Am I in excruciating pain? No. Ground myself. I'm actually okay. Right. And then I only control my response. Right. That's a big one. We always have a choice about the contents and character of our inner lives, Epictetus. How can I practice virtue? Again, go to the list and think what is this
asking of me?
What is this asking of me? It's again, the obstacle is the way, right? Yeah. My perspective is my choice. What's the future opportunity? That's my really fun one. It's I say, this is where it gets fun. This is where I get to use my imagination. New doors will open because of this. Think of examples. Trust fate. I believe in the benevolent universe. I am always grateful in hindsight. And this is like one of my favorite Seneca quotes. You will never find an area barred to you so large that an even larger one is not left open.
There's always something you can do.
Always something you can do. And then it's not, oh no, it's now what? Ooh, right? Yeah. So that is like, now what? Okay. Then,
so many. You have quite a list.
No, I do. And then, okay. So,
let's end with amor fati.
Okay. Amor fati. Love that this happened. It's not personal. It's the world at work. And then Epictetus, don't demand or expect that events happen as you wish them to. Accept events as they actually happen. That way peace is possible.
Yes.
And so that to me is just freeing, you know, it's just freeing. This happened. Good things will come of it. You know, one of the things I wanted to ask you, the benevolent universe, like I believe in that. That's not Stoic, but I believe in that. Do you? What do you think about that in terms of Stoicism?
I just try not to think about it so much because it's like, it doesn't matter what my opinion about it is. Like the universe is not benevolent or malevolent, and certainly it wouldn't care or respond to me calling it one or the other.
Okay, but do you believe things will work out?
I believe I can work them out to some degree.
You can work with what it gives you.
Yeah, but I also accept that life can be cruel and capricious.
Yeah.
And we are puny, tiny little things. It's hard to go, hey, there's a benevolent universe and you can always work it out when there is, holocausts and war crimes and pandemics. But I do think generally, like, there's a lot we can make of any given situation.
Right.
Okay, so last one. Stoicism is incredibly helpful when things are going sideways, when they're going wrong. And so that's where a lot of people focus when they, how to bounce back, how to deal with adversity, how to deal with difficulty, how to deal with tyrants. You know? But it was also a philosophy for people who were really successful, who were great at what they did, right?
Yes.
Seneca is one of the most famous playwrights in his own time. Marcus Aurelius is the emperor. How do you think of Stoicism as helping both make a person successful, but then also deal with success? Like, this book is fantastic. It's going to come out. You've had success. This is an Oprah book club pick. How do you have it help you when everything's going great?
Well, I see that is really an important part of it, I think, and I write about him in my little Stoic chapbook, is that what the protocol for what happens, not just when I don't get what I want, but when I do get what I want, because those are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, doesn't Oscar Wilde say they're both catastrophes?
Yeah, and they are, and that's the thing. It's like you're basically tying your well-being to an external.
Sure.
That I'm an Oprah book club pick.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like amazing. I'm like totally jacked for that, and I think, I'm bigger than the weather, and you get all crazy, and it's great for the moment. And then I think it's really important to bring yourself down from it. And I think that's where, to me, the memento mori, it comes in, because I'm not afraid of death. And I know there's a lot in Stoicism about that, but personally, it's never been a issue for me. But I do think the memento mori thing is really important. It's not to drain you of your joy, but very quickly after I got the call from Oprah, I was just like, this could go away.
I mean, these are some Oprah book club picks in here that nobody remembers.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Anything can go wrong. You know, so much can go wrong. It does need a protocol not to attach these magic attributes to success, because in the society, that's what you think is going to happen when you're successful, is that you won't have to work hard anymore. This feeling will be constant. You won't have to, there won't be any pain. It's just going to last forever.
Right.
And so I think it's really important, as quickly as possible. And again, it's not just to punish yourself, because when I've said this to friends, they're like, God, you can't even enjoy it. And I'm like, no, this actually is my way of enjoying it, because it goes back to the Seneca thing, hope equals fear. It's like, it's now not like I'm pinning all of my self-image, and my happiness and my tranquility on this success, because then I am living in an anxious state, and I will tell you that when, you find out that she's going to pick your book, and then it's not announced for a year, really for that whole year, I thought I was going to do something and she was going to take it away. Yeah. I really did. It was like living in this weird, I was in a frightened state that it would get taken away.
One of the ways Marcus Aurelius talks about success and failure, he says, accept it without arrogance, let it go with indifference.
That's right.
And it's like, which one is he talking about?
Yes.
Right? You don't know. But the point is, you sort of shrug them both off.
You have to shrug them both off equally. And it has to be, it's like amor fati. It's not just like, oh, whatever happened. It's like whatever happens. It's like love
this is
what
for the
happens.
Best, whether it's skunked or elevated beyond what you thought you could ever reasonably expect.
That's right. So I think you have to bring equal energy, which is very hard, because, it really isn't as fun in the short term is to feel like you can't be as happy about success as depressed about the lack of success. But you're like, oh, can't I just enjoy it?
Yeah.
But what is, to me, what I've come to realize is really, I didn't say this out loud on the phone call, but when I think really my first thought when I got the phone call was like, I get to write another book.
Yes.
Already.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God.
Right.
This now will sell enough that I can write another book. And that's really where the joy is. It's being in the creative flow.
That's beautiful.
And
yes.
getting to write a book. And that was my first thing.
You weren't thinking dollar signs. You were thinking, I get the actual gift here, which is doing the thing I love to do.
And now,
which, by the way, you also got to do regardless. If you
I
were,
did.
If, the problem is sometimes even there, we're like, okay, now I get permission to do it again. But it's like, you could have been canceled. She could have been calling to cancel you, James Gray style or whatever,
That's right.
and actually, you still could have written another book.
That's right. Yeah. No, I could have, but I really just thought like, I was like, oh, I'm now really set up to continue being in the flow state, because I need to support myself. And it's like, oh, maybe this is good. Then I can just now have my days free to write books because this is now like what I do for a living, and so that part was really good. So I think that the success is really tricky. It can really play with your head because, you do want to complain in success, and that's
it can always be more successful.
Exactly.
You got to eat shit. Even so, it's not the dream that you think. And then there's temptations and pitfalls that can come along with it. But in a way, it requires the Stoicism even more.
So much discipline. That's the thing. You get offered a lot of things more. Like there's all these opportunities that you think. For me, my thing is that everybody wants me to write pieces, like I'm 60 and single in New York, but it's like, you should write a modern love about that. And it's like, no, I'm not going to be writing a modern love about that. I'm actually not that.
If anything, the success should allow you to say no more.
But so I really did have a rule for this book, which is like actually quite arrogant, but it was that I'm not writing any pieces for this book. I'm just not going to do it because you know what? If I could whip them off, I would be a piece writer by now. I'm not. I need to be alone in a room for 2 years, alone with no feedback, and then come up with a novel. That's what I do. And that other, God bless you, if you can just whip off pieces, then go do whip off pieces. But to me, I resent it. I don't have an idea for it. It just turns me into a miserable person.
It seems like you don't like it.
I don't like it, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to spend my energy on it. But that also is a very hard thing to say no to because you feel like, oh, I get to be in the New York Times, or oh, somebody wants me to, you feel like things that when you're on the outside, you think are the markers of success. And so you want to be doing that. And now it's one of my rules that I just won't write an extra word for my book.
Well, that's amazing. I thought the book's great. Let's go walk through the bookstore.
Amazing. Yes, please.